The wind screamed across the frozen surface of Kepler-7 like a hungry beast. Jake Murphy pulled his jacket tighter as he walked from his workshop to check the main power generator. The cold here was not like Earth cold. This was the kind of cold that could freeze a man's breath before it left his mouth. The kind of cold that made metal crack like glass. Jake had been working on this mining station for 3 years now. Most people thought he was crazy for staying in his surface workshop during winter. The smart ones moved down to the underground, levels where it was warm and safe. But Jake liked it up here. He liked the quiet. He liked having space to work on the big mining machines without people looking over his shoulder. The workshop was his kingdom, 30 feet long and 20 feet wide, filled with tools, spare parts, and half-finished projects. The fusion heater in the corner kept it warm enough that he could work without gloves. Outside, the temperature was dropping fast. The weather computer said it would hit minus 200 degrees tonight. Jake finished checking the generator and hurried back inside. The storm was getting worse. Through the thick windows, he could see nothing but white. The snow came down so hard, it looked like a solid wall. He was glad he had stored enough food and water for a week. Nobody would be going anywhere until this storm passed. He sat down at his workbench and picked up the mining drill he had been fixing. The drill's power core was cracked, and he needed to replace it before the morning shift. It was detailed work, a kind that needed steady hands and good light. Jake lost himself in the repair, focusing on the tiny connections and delicate circuits. Hours passed. The storm grew louder. The workshop shook when the wind hit it hard, but the building was strong. It had survived many storms like this one. Jake was almost finished with the drill when he heard something strange. Scratching. At first, he thought it was just the wind blowing debris against the wall, but the sound came again. Scratch, scratch, scratch. It was coming from the main door. Jake set down his tools and listened. The scratching came again, more urgent this time. Something was outside his door. Something alive. He walked to the door and checked the security screen. The camera showed nothing but swirling snow. The scratching continued. Whatever was out there was not giving up. Jake's hand moved to the door controls. Every rule said he should not open that door. The storm was too dangerous. Nothing should be moving around outside in weather like this. But the scratching sounded desperate, almost like someone asking for help. He pressed the door release. The heavy metal door slid open with a hiss. Cold air rushed in like a slap to the face. Snow swirled into the workshop, but Jake barely noticed. Standing in the doorway was the biggest wolf he had ever seen. The creature was massive, almost as tall as Jake's waist. Its fur was thick and white, covered with ice crystals that sparkled in the workshop lights. But this was not like any Earth wolf. It was bigger, with longer legs and a broader chest. Its eyes were a deep blue color that seemed to glow in the darkness. The wolf was not alone. In its mouth, the creature carried 2 small bundles. Jake realized they were baby wolves, pups so small they fit easily in their mother's jaws. The pups were not moving. Their tiny bodies hung limp and still. The mother wolf stepped into the workshop without fear. She moved slowly, carefully, as if she knew this was a sacred place. Her eyes never left Jake's face. When she reached the center of the room, she gently lowered her head and placed the 2 pups on the floor. Then she sat back and looked at Jake. The look in her eyes was something Jake would never forget. It was not the look of a wild animal. It was the look of a mother who had lost hope. A mother who had tried everything and failed. A mother who was asking a stranger for a miracle. Jake stared at the pups. They were so small, no bigger than house cats. Their fur was light gray with white patches. Ice covered their tiny bodies. They were not breathing. The mother wolf made a soft sound, almost like a whimper. She nudged one of the pups with her nose, then looked back at Jake. The message was clear. Help them. Jake knelt down beside the pups. Up close, he could see they were beautiful creatures. Their fur was incredibly soft, even frozen as it was. Their tiny paws had sharp little claws. Their faces looked peaceful, as if they were just sleeping. But they were not sleeping. They were dying. Maybe already dead. The mother wolf watched as Jake examined her babies. She did not growl or show her teeth. She just waited. Somehow, this wild creature understood that Jake might be able to help. She had brought her most precious treasures to a human, trusting him with their lives. Jake had no idea how she knew. He was here. The workshop was isolated, far from any trails or paths. The storm should have hidden all scent and sound. Yet somehow, this mother had found him. In her darkest hour, she had sought out the one place on this frozen moon where there might be hope. The wind howled outside, reminding Jake that the door was still open. Cold air poured into the workshop, threatening to steal what little warmth. The pups might have left. He needed to act fast. Jake stood up and looked at the mother wolf. "I'll try," he said softly. "I don't know if I can help them, but I'll try." The wolf seemed to understand. She moved aside as Jake carefully picked up the first pup. The little body was stiff and cold, like a piece of frozen meat. But when Jake held it close to his chest, he thought he felt something. The faintest flutter. A tiny heartbeat, weak but still. The second pup felt the same. Cold and still, but not quite gone. Jake looked at the mother wolf, who was watching his every move. "They're still alive," he told her. "Barely, but they're alive." The wolf's tail moved slightly. Just a small wag, but it was enough. Hope. Jake closed the door and carried the pups to his workbench. The mother wolf followed, her claws clicking on the metal floor. This was going to be the most important repair job of his life. Not fixing a machine this time, but fixing something much more precious. 2 tiny lives hung in the balance, and a mother's heart waited for a miracle. Jake moved quickly but carefully. Every second counted now. He cleared his workbench and grabbed 2 thermal blankets from his emergency supplies. The blankets were designed to keep humans warm in extreme cold. He hoped they would work for alien wolf pups too. The mother wolf watched as Jake wrapped each tiny pup in a blanket. She made no sound, but her blue eyes followed his every movement. When Jake picked up the first pup, she tensed slightly. Then she seemed to understand that he was trying to help. Her muscles relaxed. Jake carried both pups to the fusion heater in the corner of the workshop. The heater was old but reliable. It had kept him warm through many long winter nights. He set the pups down close to the warmth, but not too close. Too much heat too fast could kill them. The mother wolf came over and sniffed the air around the heater. She seemed to approve. She lay down beside her babies, close enough to touch them with her nose, but far enough away to let Jake work. Jake went to his supply cabinet and pulled out his medical scanner. Every worker on Kepler-7 carried one. The scanners were designed for humans, but they could read basic life signs in most mammals. Jake hoped these alien wolves were close enough to Earth, animals that the scanner would work. He ran the scanner over the first pup. The small screen lit up with numbers and graphs. Heart rate, body temperature, brain activity. The readings were weak, but they were there. The pup was alive, but barely. Its body temperature was so low the scanner could hardly detect it. The second pup showed similar readings. Both babies were in what humans called deep hypothermic shock. Their bodies had shut down almost everything to protect their vital organs. They were like tiny frozen computers in sleep mode, waiting for warmth to wake them up. Jake had seen hypothermia before. A miner had fallen into a frozen lake 2 years ago. The medical team had saved him by warming him slowly and carefully. Too fast, and the shock could kill. Too slow, and the cold would win. But those techniques were designed for humans. Would they work on alien wolves? Jake looked at the mother wolf. She was watching him with those intelligent blue eyes. Somehow, he felt like she understood the situation. Her babies were dying, and he was their only hope. The workshop door chimed. Someone was outside. Jake checked the security screen and saw a figure in a heavy winter coat. It was Lisa Carter, one of the security officers. She was supposed to check on all surface workers during storms like this. Jake hesitated. Having the wolves here broke about 20 different regulations. Contact with native wildlife was strictly forbidden. But the pups needed help, and he could not save them alone. He opened the door. Lisa stepped inside, snow covering her coat and helmet. She pulled off her helmet and shook out her short brown hair. "Just checking to make sure you're okay," she said. "This storm is really bad. We've lost contact with 2 other outposts and ... She stopped talking when she saw the mother wolf. Lisa's hand moved toward her weapon, but Jake quickly stepped between them. "It's okay," he said. "She's not dangerous. She brought her babies here for help." Lisa stared at the scene. The massive wolf lying peacefully beside the heater. 2 tiny bundles wrapped in thermal blankets. Jake kneeling beside them with a medical scanner. "Jake, what are you doing?" Lisa asked. "You know the rules about native wildlife." "They're dying," Jake said simply. "She brought them to me because she knew I might be able to help. Look at her, Lisa. Really look at her." Lisa looked at the mother wolf. The creature was not acting. Like a wild animal, she was not aggressive or afraid. She was just waiting, watching, hoping. "How long have they been here?" Lisa asked. "About an hour. They were nearly frozen solid when she brought them in, but they're still alive. The scanner shows weak vital signs." Lisa knelt down beside Jake. She had grown up on a farming colony before joining station security. Her family had raised animals. She knew what a mother's desperation looked like. "What can I do to help?" she asked. Jake felt relief wash over him. "You know animals better than I do." "I'm just a mechanic. I fix machines, not living things." "These readings," Lisa said, looking at the scanner. "They're like the hypothermia cases I've seen, but much worse. Their body temperature is almost too low to measure. Can we save them?" Lisa studied the scanner readings more carefully. "Maybe. We need to warm them very slowly. And we need to monitor their heart rates. If their hearts stop, we'll need to restart them." "How do we do that?" "The medical kit has a small defibrillator. It's designed for humans, but on the lowest setting, it might work for something this small." Jake went to get the medical kit, while Lisa continued scanning the pups. The mother wolf watched them both, but remained calm. It was as if she understood they were trying to help. "Jake," Lisa said quietly, "look at this." She was scanning the mother wolf now. The readings on the screen made Jake's eyes widen. The wolf's brain activity was much higher than any Earth animal. The patterns looked almost human-like. "She's intelligent," Lisa whispered. "Really intelligent. Not just smart for an animal. Actually intelligent." Jake looked at the mother wolf with new understanding. She had not just stumbled onto his workshop by accident. She had sought him out. She had made a choice to trust a human with her babies' lives. "We have to save them," Jake said. "I know," Lisa replied. "But we need to be very careful. One mistake and we could lose them both." For the next hour, Jake and Lisa worked together. They adjusted the heater to provide gentle, steady warmth. They monitored the pup's vital signs constantly. They took turns checking on the mother wolf, who never moved from her spot beside her babies. Slowly, very slowly, the pups began to warm up. Their body temperatures rose degree by degree. Their heart rates grew a little stronger, but they still did not move. They still did not breathe on their own. "Come on," Jake whispered to the first pup. "You can do it. Your mom brought you all this way. Don't give up now." As if hearing his words, the tiny creature took a shallow breath. Then another. The mother wolf's ears perked up at the sound. "Lisa, look at this," Jake said, pointing to the scanner. The pup's brain activity was increasing. Its heart rate was stabilizing. The second pup was slower to respond, but after another 30 minutes, it too began breathing regularly. Both babies were still unconscious, but their vital signs were improving. A mother wolf made a soft sound, almost like a sigh. Of relief, she carefully moved closer to her babies, being careful not to interfere with the medical equipment. "I think they're going to make it," Lisa said. Jake nodded, but he knew they were not safe yet. The next few hours would be critical. The pups needed to wake up. They needed to start moving and eating. Only then would they be truly out of danger. But for now, they were alive. Against all odds, 2 tiny alien lives had been pulled back from the edge of death, and a mother's faith in a strange creature from another world had been rewarded. The night felt endless. Jake and Lisa took turns watching the pups while the other rested. The mother wolf never moved from her spot beside the heater. Her eyes stayed open, watching her babies breathe. Every few minutes, she would sniff them, gently checking on their progress. Jake was on watch duty when the first pup moved. It was just a tiny twitch of one paw, but it was movement. Real, voluntary movement. "Lisa," Jake called softly. "Wake up. Something's happening." Lisa sat up from the chair where she had been dozing. She came over to the heater and knelt down. Beside Jake, the medical scanner showed the pup's brain activity was increasing rapidly. "His body temperature is almost normal now," Lisa said, reading the numbers. "Heart rate is strong. I think he's waking up." The mother wolf had noticed the movement too. She made a soft whimpering sound and moved her head closer to her baby. Her tail was moving slightly, the first sign of happiness Jake had seen from. The pup's eyes opened. They were the same bright blue as his mother's. He looked around in confusion, then saw his mother's face. He made a tiny squeaking sound. The mother wolf responded with gentle licking, cleaning her baby's face and warming him with her breath. The pup tried to move toward her, but was still too weak. His little legs would not support his weight. "That's okay, little guy," Jake said quietly. "Take your time. You've been through a lot." The second pup was slower to wake up. His body temperature was rising, but he still showed no signs of movement. Lisa increased the scanner frequency, checking his vital signs every few minutes. "His heart is working harder than his brother's," she said with concern. "It's like his body is fighting something." Jake thought about this. Maybe he was frozen longer. Or maybe he's just smaller, and the cold affected him more. They waited. The first pup was getting stronger by the hour. He could lift his head now, and was trying to crawl toward his mother. The mother wolf helped by moving him closer to her warm. As dawn began to break outside, the second pup finally opened his eyes, but something was wrong. He looked confused and frightened. He did not recognize his mother or his brother. He made distressed crying sounds. The mother wolf seemed to understand that this baby needed special care. She positioned herself so both pups could feel her warmth, but she paid extra attention to the weaker one. She licked him constantly and made soft, comforting sounds. "His brain activity is different," Lisa observed, studying the scanner readings. "It's like the cold damaged something." Jake felt his heart sink. They had saved the pup's life, but had they saved him completely? Will he be okay? "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "Animals can recover from brain injuries better than humans sometimes. We'll have to wait and see." The first pup was now trying to stand. His legs were shaky, but he could support his own weight for a few seconds at a time. When he fell over, he would rest for a moment, then try again. His determination reminded Jake of his mother's courage in bringing them here. The mother wolf watched her stronger pup with obvious pride, but she never stopped caring for the weaker one. She seemed to understand that he needed more help. Jake went to prepare some food. He had no idea what wolf pups ate, but he had some protein bars designed for human emergency situations. He mixed them with warm water to make a soft paste. "Do you think they can eat this?" he asked Lisa. "At their age, they should still be nursing," Lisa said. "But if their mother has no milk because of stress and cold, they'll need something else." Jake offered the paste to the stronger pup on his finger. The little wolf sniffed it carefully, then licked it. He seemed to like the taste and took more. The weaker pup was not interested in food. He just wanted to stay close to his mother's warmth. The mother wolf tried to encourage him to eat, but he was too tired. "We need to get some nutrition into him," Lisa said. "He's too weak to recover without food." Jake had an idea. He mixed the protein paste with more water to make it liquid. Using a small syringe from the medical kit, he carefully gave the weak pup tiny amounts of the mixture. The pup swallowed reflexively. It was not much, but it was something. They would have to feed in this way until he was strong enough to eat on his own. Hours passed. The storm outside was finally ending. Through the windows, Jake could see patches of blue sky between the clouds. The stronger pup was now walking around the workshop, exploring his new environment. He was curious about everything, sniffing tools and equipment. The mother wolf followed her adventurous pup, but stayed close enough to return quickly to her weaker baby. She seemed torn between encouraging the strong one and protecting the weak one. "She's a good mother," Lisa observed. "The best," Jake agreed. She risked everything to save them. By midday, both pups were awake and alert. The weaker one was still confused and needed constant care, but he was alive and breathing normally. The stronger one was already showing signs of personality. He was bold and curious, trying to climb on everything. Jake realized that these creatures were nothing like earth wolves. They were more intelligent, more social, more emotional. The way the mother communicated with her babies and with the humans showed a level of understanding that amazed him. "What do we do now?" Lisa asked. "We can't keep them here forever. And we can't report this without getting in trouble." Jake looked at the little family. The mother wolf was resting while her pups slept beside her. All three of them looked peaceful and content, safe. "I don't know," Jake admitted, "but I'm not giving up on them now. We've come too far." As if sensing his thoughts, the mother wolf looked at him. In her eyes, Jake saw something he had never expected to see from a wild animal. Gratitude, deep, genuine gratitude. She stood up slowly and walked over to Jake. For a moment, he thought she might be angry or aggressive. Instead, she gently touched his hand with her nose. It was a gesture of thanks. Then she did something that surprised him even more. She went to the workshop door and looked back at Jake and Lisa. Her meaning was clear. "Follow me. I think she wants to show us something," Lisa said. Jake looked at the pups. They were sleeping peacefully in their warm nest beside the heater. They would be safe for a while. "Okay," he said to the mother wolf. "Lead the way." The wolf waited while Jake and Lisa put on their winter gear. Then she led them outside into the bright, cold morning. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world of crystal and ice. Whatever she wanted to show them, Jake had the feeling it was going to change everything. The mother wolf led Jake and Lisa across the frozen ground behind the workshop. Her paws made no sound on the hard snow. She moved with purpose, looking back occasionally to make sure they were following. The landscape was beautiful in the morning. Light, ice crystals sparkled like diamonds on every surface. The storm had carved new patterns in the snow, creating strange sculptures that looked almost alive. After walking for 10 minutes, the wolf stopped beside a large pile of rocks. At first, Jake thought it was just a natural formation. Then he noticed something strange. The rocks were arranged too perfectly. Someone had built this. The mother wolf began digging in the snow at the base of the rock pile. Her powerful claws scraped away the ice until she uncovered something that made Jake's breath catch in his throat. Metal. Shiny, clean metal that definitely came from the mining station. The wolf continued digging and pulled out several objects. A piece of thermal insulation, a small heating element, some copper wire, all human technology, all things that had probably been thrown away as trash. "She's been collecting our stuff," Lisa said in amazement. The wolf arranged the objects in a specific pattern and looked at Jake and Lisa as if asking them to understand something. Jake knelt down and examined the items more closely. The heating element was connected to the copper wire in a crude but effective way. The thermal insulation was wrapped around it. It was a primitive heating system, built by someone who understood how the pieces worked together. "She made this," Jake said slowly. "She actually built a heater." The mother wolf made a soft sound and began digging again. This time she uncovered more items. Metal plates that had been shaped and bent into specific forms. Plastic containers that had been modified to hold water. Even some electronic components that had been carefully taken apart and put back together in new ways. Lisa picked up one of the plastic containers. It had holes drilled in the bottom in a precise pattern. "This is a water filter," she said. "A really good one." Jake looked around the area with new eyes. Now he could see that the entire rock formation was actually a sophisticated shelter. The rocks provided protection from wind and cold. The human technology had been integrated to provide heat, clean water, and storage space. "This is incredible," he said. "She's not just using our technology, she's improving it." The mother wolf seemed pleased by their reaction. She led them to another area nearby where Jake saw something even more surprising. Tracks in the snow. Lots of tracks. Made by many different wolves. "There are more of them," Lisa said. The mother wolf barked once, a clear, commanding sound. Within minutes, other wolves began appearing from hidden places among the rocks. They emerged from caves and shelters that Jake had not even noticed. Soon, Jake and Lisa were surrounded by a pack of 12 wolves. All of them were large and beautiful, with the same intelligent blue eyes as the mother. But instead of feeling threatened, Jake felt welcomed. The wolves were curious about the humans, but not aggressive. One of the wolves, an older male with gray fur around his muzzle, approached Jake carefully. In his mouth, he carried something that made Jake's heart skip a beat. It was a small piece of rare mineral, the kind that the mining company paid huge bonuses to find, the kind that was so valuable it could fund the entire mining operation for months. The old wolf dropped the mineral at Jake's feet, then stepped back and waited. "It's a gift," Lisa whispered. "They're giving us a gift." More wolves came forward, each carrying something valuable. Rare crystals, precious metals, minerals that Jake had never seen before. They placed their offerings in a neat pile and then sat back to watch the humans' reaction. Jake was overwhelmed. These creatures had saved his life by accepting his help. With the pups, now they were offering him treasures beyond imagination. But why? The mother wolf seemed to understand his confusion. She led him to yet another area where the snow had been cleared away. In the exposed ground, Jake saw something. That explained everything. Claw marks. Huge claw marks, much larger than any wolf could make. And scattered around them, pieces of metal and fabric. The remains of mining equipment that had been destroyed by something big and dangerous. Predators, Lisa said, understanding immediately. Something else lives on this planet. Something that attacks the mining station. The mother wolf confirmed this by acting out a scene. She pretended to be a much larger creature, growling and attacking. Then she showed how the wolves worked together to drive the creature away. It was clear that this pack had been protecting the mining station from threats that the humans never even knew existed. Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. How many times have they saved us? The mother wolf led them to one final spot. Here the snow was trampled and stained with something dark. Old blood. The remains of a battle between wolves and something else. Something that had left tracks bigger than dinner plates. But the wolves had won. The tracks showed the larger creature retreating, probably wounded. The pack had risked their lives to keep the mining station safe. That's why she brought her pups. To you, Lisa said with sudden understanding. It's not just about trust. It's about partnership. They've been protecting us. Now they need our help. Jake looked at the pack of wolves surrounding them. Each one was watching him with those intelligent, blue eyes, waiting to see if he understood the message they were trying to send. These creatures were not just animals. They were allies. They had been working to keep the humans safe, asking for nothing in return. Until now. Until 2 of their babies almost died, and they needed help that only human technology could provide. The mother wolf approached Jake one more time. She gently touched his hand with her nose, then looked toward the workshop where her babies were sleeping. Her message was clear. The partnership was just beginning. Over the following days, Jake learned just how deep that partnership could go. The mother wolf, whom he started calling Luna because of her silvery fur, brought her pups to the workshop every morning. They seemed to understand that the warm building helped them recover faster. But Luna also brought other members of her pack. They would sit quietly in the workshop and watch Jake work on mining equipment. Their attention was intense and focused. They were learning. Jake began to notice that the wolves understood much more than he had first thought. When he worked with electrical systems, they watched the way he connected wires. When he repaired mechanical parts, they observed how the pieces fit together. One day, Jake deliberately left a simple repair job unfinished when the wolves arrived. He wanted to see what they would do. Luna approached the broken equipment and sniffed it carefully. Then she used her nose to push one piece against another until they clicked into place. She had fixed it. Not perfectly, but well enough that it worked. She looked at Jake as if asking for approval. "Good girl," Jake said, amazed. "That's exactly right." Luna's tail wagged slightly. She was proud of herself. From that day on, Jake began teaching the wolves simple repair techniques. He showed them which pieces went together and how to tell when something was working correctly. They learned faster than any human student he had ever seen. The 2 pups, meanwhile, were growing stronger every day. The bold one, whom Jake called Scout, was already trying to operate simple machines. He had figured out how to turn the workshop, lights on and off, by pressing buttons with his nose. The weaker pup, whom Jake called Buddy, was slower to learn, but no less determined. His injury had affected his coordination, but his intelligence was perfectly intact. He preferred to watch and think rather than jump into action, like his brother. Luna seemed to understand that Buddy needed special care. She was always gentle with him, always patient when he struggled with tasks that came easily to Scout. 3 weeks after the rescue, Jake realized that something extraordinary was happening. The wolves were not just learning to use human tools. They were beginning to understand human concepts, planning, problem-solving, even basic engineering principles. When a water pipe froze in the workshop, Luna organized her pack to help fix it. Some wolves provided body heat to thaw the ice. Others held tools in their mouths while Jake worked. They functioned as a perfect team, each understanding their role without being told. That night, Jake sat in his workshop, watching Luna and her Pups sleep beside the heater. The other pack members had returned to their territory, but Luna and her babies had made the workshop their second home. Jake knew that everything had changed, not just for him, but for both species. They were no longer human and wolf. They were partners in survival on a hostile world, and this was only the beginning. Dr. Amy Rodriguez arrived on the morning supply transport, carrying equipment that Jake had never seen before. She was a biologist from the main research station on Earth, called in to study what headquarters was calling the wolf situation. Amy was a small woman with dark hair and curious eyes. She set up her equipment in one corner of Jake's workshop, while Luna and her pups watched from their usual spot by the heater. "This is remarkable," Amy said, scanning Luna with a device that looked like an advanced medical scanner. "Her brain structure is far more complex than any Earth mammal. Look at these neural pathways." She showed Jake and Lisa the readings on her screen. The patterns looked almost human, but with differences that made Jake's head spin. "What does it mean?" Jake asked. "It means Luna is not just smart for an animal," Amy explained. "She's genuinely intelligent. Problem-solving, abstract thinking, even basic language comprehension. These wolves are on the edge of developing their own civilization." Scout chose that moment to demonstrate his latest skill. He walked over to Jake's tool cabinet and used his nose to press the right sequence of buttons to open the electronic lock. Then he carefully pulled out a wrench with his teeth and brought it to Jake. Amy stared in amazement. "He knows the lock combination? He learned it by watching me," Jake said. "He's been doing things like that for weeks." Buddy, not to be outdone by his brother, walked over to a broken radio on the workbench. Using his paws, he managed to reconnect a loose wire. The radio crackled to life, playing music from the main station. "Impossible," Amy whispered. "They understand cause and effect. They can see problems and find solutions." Luna seemed to enjoy the attention. She led Amy around the workshop, showing off other things she had learned. She demonstrated how to operate the door controls, how to adjust the heater temperature, and how to activate the emergency beacon. She's been teaching herself, Amy realized. Not just copying what she sees, but actually understanding how things work. That afternoon, Amy asked to see the wolf territory. Luna was happy to guide them to the pack's home among the rocks. Amy's excitement grew as she saw the sophisticated shelters and the modified human technology. But the real revelation came when they reached the main den. The cave was larger than Jake had expected, stretching deep into the hillside. But it was not a natural cave. The walls were too smooth, the passages too regular. Someone had carved this place out of solid rock. "Luna," Amy said slowly, "did your people make this?" Luna led them deeper into the cave system. The walls were covered with markings that looked almost like writing, simple pictures that seemed to tell stories. Amy studied them with growing excitement. "These are records," she said. "They're keeping history. Look, this one shows wolves and humans working together. And this one shows the big predators being driven away." Jake found the most interesting picture. It showed wolves using tools and building things. The artwork was crude but clear. These creatures had been developing technology for generations. "How long have they been doing this?" Lisa asked. Amy examined the markings more carefully. "Based on the wear patterns and the style. Changes, I'd say at least 50 years. Maybe longer." Luna led them to a special chamber where Jake saw something that made his heart race. Dozens of wolf pups playing with human tools and materials. But these were not just random objects. The pups were building things. Simple machines. And structures that actually worked. A young wolf, barely bigger than Scout, had assembled a working pulley system using rope and metal pieces. Another had built a small shelter using thermal panels and support beams. They were engineering solutions to problems. "They're teaching their children," Amy said in wonder. "Not just how to hunt and survive, but how to think and build." An older wolf approached them, carrying something in his mouth. It was a piece of equipment that Jake recognized as a broken communication device from the mining station. But it was no longer broken. The wolf had somehow repaired it using parts from other machines. The device was working perfectly. In fact, it was working better than when it was new. The wolf had improved the design. "This changes everything," Amy said. "These wolves are not just learning our technology. They are advancing it." Over the next few days, Amy documented dozens of examples of wolf innovation. They had created better heating systems, more efficient water filters, and even simple computers using salvaged electronic parts. But the biggest revelation came when Jake was working on a particularly difficult mining drill repair. He had been struggling with the problem for hours when Luna approached. She studied the machine carefully, then went to her pack members. What happened next amazed everyone. The wolves organized themselves into a work team. Some held parts steady, while others manipulated tools. They worked together with perfect coordination, as if they shared a common mind. Within an hour, they had fixed the drill. Not only fixed it, but improved it. The new configuration was more efficient and would last longer than the original design. How did they know how to do that? Jake asked. Amy checked her readings. "They've been watching you work for weeks." "Not just copying, but understanding the principles behind what you do. They've learned engineering by observation." That evening, as they sat in the workshop with Luna and her pups, Amy shared her conclusions. "These wolves are experiencing rapid evolutionary development," she said. "Contact with human technology has accelerated their mental growth. They're developing new neural pathways, new ways of thinking." "Is that good or bad?" Lisa asked. "It's unprecedented," Amy replied. "We're witnessing the birth of a new intelligent species. In real time." Luna seemed to understand they were talking about her people. She made a series of soft sounds that sounded almost like words. Then she went to the wall and used her claw to scratch a simple drawing. The drawing showed wolves and humans working together on something large and complex, a building or a machine that neither species could create alone. "She's showing us the future," Jake realized. "A future where we work together." Amy nodded. "These wolves don't want to replace human technology. They want to partner with us, combine their natural abilities with our knowledge to create something new." Scout and Buddy seemed to sense the importance of the moment. They came over and sat beside Jake, one on each side. Their message was clear. "We are family now. What do we tell headquarters?" Lisa asked. Amy looked at Luna, who was watching them with those intelligent blue eyes. "We tell them the truth, that we've made first contact, not with visitors from space, but with Earth's newest intelligent species." Jake thought about all the rules they had broken, all the procedures they had ignored. None of that mattered now. They had stumbled onto something more important than any mining operation. They had found partners for humanity's future among the stars. Luna seemed to understand his thoughts. She touched his hand gently with her nose, then looked toward the door. She wanted to show them something else. Something that would change everything once again. "What is it, girl?" Jake asked. "What else do you want us to see?" Luna's answer was to lead them outside, under the star-filled sky. She pointed her nose toward the horizon, where strange lights were moving in the darkness. More wolves were coming, many more, and they were bringing gifts that would reshape both species forever. 6 months later, Jake's workshop looked nothing like it used to. The small building had been expanded 3 times, with new sections built using a combination of human engineering and Wolf innovation. The walls were lined with tools that no human had ever imagined, created through the partnership of 2 very different kinds of minds. Luna stood beside Jake as they watched her pups work on their latest project. Scout and Buddy were no longer small babies. They had grown into strong young wolves with skills that amazed everyone who met them. Scout was connecting wires inside a device that looked like a computer, but worked in ways that human computers could not. His paws moved with incredible precision, guided by an understanding of electronics that he had developed through months of practice. Buddy, despite his early injury, had become the pack's best problem solver. His slower, more careful approach to learning had given him insights that even surprised Dr. Rodriguez. He could look at a broken machine and see solutions that escaped both humans and other wolves. Jake called Lisa from the communication center. Headquarters is calling again. They want another progress report. Jake sighed. The mining company had been calling every week since word of the Wolf partnership reached Earth. At first, they had been angry about the broken regulations. Then, they had become excited about the incredible mineral discoveries the wolves had shared. Now they were impatient for results. "Tell them we're still working," Jake said. "These things take time." The truth was, Jake no longer cared much about the mining company's schedule. Something far more important was happening on Kepler-7. 2 species were learning to work together in ways that had never been tried before. The breakthrough had come when the wolves showed the humans their greatest secret. Deep in their cave system was a chamber that contained something incredible. Machines. Not human machines or simple Wolf creations, but something entirely new. The wolves had been building these devices for years, using knowledge passed down through generations combined with human technology they had found. The machines could do things that human science said were impossible. One device could find mineral deposits by listening to sounds in the rock that human equipment could not detect. Another could predict weather patterns weeks in advance by sensing changes in air pressure that were too subtle for human instruments. But the most amazing machine was one that Buddy had designed himself. It was a translator that could convert wolf sounds into human language and human words into sounds that wolves could understand. The first time Jake heard Luna speak through the translator, he had nearly fallen over with shock. "Hello, Jake," the machine had said in a mechanical voice that somehow carried Luna's personality. "Thank you for saving my children." From that moment, everything changed. The wolves were no longer just intelligent animals. They were people with their own language, culture, and dreams for the future. Dr. Rodriguez had brought teams of scientists from Earth to study the partnership. They came expecting to find humans teaching wolves to use tools. Instead, they found 2 species teaching each other to think in new ways. The neural development is accelerating in both groups, Dr. Rodriguez explained to the latest group of visitors. Humans working with wolves are developing new types of problem-solving skills, and the wolves are advancing at a rate we've never seen in any species. Jake barely listened to the scientific explanations anymore. He was more interested in practical results, like the new mining technique that Scout had developed, which was twice as efficient as anything humans had used before, or the weather prediction system that had already saved dozens of lives by warning of dangerous storms. But the most important result was harder to measure. Jake looked around the workshop and saw humans and wolves working side by side as if they had always been partners. Communication problems that had seemed impossible 6 months ago were now solved with a combination of technology and understanding. A young wolf named Star had learned to operate the computer systems that controlled the mining equipment. A human engineer named Pete had learned to understand wolf body language so well that he could communicate with the pack without using the translator. "Jake," Luna said, approaching with something in her mouth. The translator on her collar converted her words automatically now. "The council wants to meet with you." The Wolf Council was something that had surprised everyone. The wolves had their own government, their own way of making decisions as a community. They had been debating for weeks about something important. And Jake was finally being invited to participate. Luna led him to the main cave, where dozens of wolves had gathered. The older wolves sat in a circle, with the younger ones arranged around them. In the center of the circle was a large, flat stone that served as a table. On the stone were maps. Not human maps, but wolf maps drawn on metal sheets using claw marks. And symbols. They showed areas of the planet that humans had never explored, marked with symbols that indicated different types of resources and dangers. The pack leader, an ancient wolf named Elder, spoke through his translator. His voice was deep and wise, carrying the authority of many years. "Jake Murphy," Elder said, "you saved 2 of our children when they were dying. You shared your knowledge and tools with our people. You treated us as equals when your own kind said we were just animals." Jake felt honored but uncomfortable with the formal tone. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," Elder replied. "You did what few humans would do. You saw intelligence where others saw beasts. You offered partnership where others would have offered control." Elder gestured to the maps. "Now we offer you something in return. Knowledge that our people have gathered for many generations. Secrets of this world that your instruments cannot discover." The maps showed locations of mineral deposits that would make the mining company wealthy beyond imagination. But they also showed something else. Areas marked with warning symbols. Places where the great predators lived. "The big hunters are coming," Elder explained. "The warm season brings them from the deep caves. Your mining operations are in their territory. Without our help, many humans will die." Jake studied the maps with growing understanding. The wolves were not just offering partnership for mining. They were offering protection, knowledge, and alliance in a dangerous world. "What do you want in return?" Jake asked. Elder's expression showed something that might have been amusement. "What we have always wanted. Recognition that this world belongs to both our peoples. Official status as partners, not pets. The right to learn and grow alongside humanity." Luna stepped forward and placed a small device on the stone table. It was unlike anything Jake had seen before, combining human electronics with wolf engineering in ways that created something entirely new. "This is our gift to your people," Luna said. "A communication device that will work across the stars. Your people on Earth will be able to talk to you instantly, no matter how far apart you are." Jake picked up the device, marveling at its design. Human science said that instant communication across space was impossible. But the wolves had found a way. "How does it work?" he asked. "We learn from watching how our packs communicate," Luna explained. "We found ways to make your technology work like our natural abilities." Dr. Rodriguez examined the device with wonder. This could change everything. Space exploration, colonization, contact with other worlds. "This technology is worth more than all the minerals on this planet." Elder nodded solemnly. "It is the first gift of many. Our peoples working together can achieve things that neither could accomplish alone." 3 months later, Jake stood in a new building that served as the official embassy between humans and wolves. His title was now Director of Interspecies Relations, a job that had never existed before, but was now vital to the future of both species. Scout and Buddy had become the first wolf students at the Human Technical College. They were learning advanced engineering while teaching human students about wolf problem-solving methods. Their unique perspectives were leading to innovations that amazed professors on both worlds. Luna had become the official wolf ambassador to humanity. She spent her days working with human diplomats and scientists, helping to establish the laws and agreements that would govern the partnership between species. The mining company had initially been concerned about sharing profits with the wolves. But when wolf-guided surveys discovered mineral deposits worth trillions of dollars, corporate complaints quickly turned to grateful cooperation. Jake looked out the embassy window at a sight that still filled him with wonder. Human children and wolf pups playing together in the snow, learning from each other in ways that would shape the future of both species. The incredible thing had never been just saving 2 frozen pups. The incredible thing was discovering that intelligence, compassion, and partnership could bridge any gap between different forms of life. As Jake watched Scout teaching a human child how to listen to the sounds that rocks make, he realized that this was only the beginning. 2 species had found each other on a frozen moon, and together they were going to reach for the stars.